Good evening, parents. We are very happy to have you here tonight for our parent orientation. I am Leslie Ivy. I'm the principal here at Plaza, and I'm excited to have you and your children as part of our Plaza family this year. We have many things to talk to you about this evening. We will be doing this first session through broadcast, and I have multiple individuals coming on to talk to you about different elements of our school. But I'm going to begin first with our Plaza staff. Our Plaza team, this is a picture of our whole staff before the beginning of school. And one thing that you will realize about our Plaza staff is that they are very caring, highly knowledgeable, and really want the best for your children. So I'm very proud of our staff, and I know that you will enjoy working with them. One section of our staff that are here tonight, they are in various classrooms, are exploratory courses, and I'm going to talk briefly about these classes, and then we also have a handout that describes them in more detail. But in elementary school, they were called specials, and when you come to middle school, they're called exploratory courses. So we have family and consumer science, which we call FACS here. That's our acronym for that. And it is, for many of us, what we had as home ec. It's our cooking and sewing. And then we have technology education, or we call that tech ed for short. And that has to do with our computer science, robotics. It's our kids always love being in that class and getting to work through modules and learning more about technology education. Then we have world cultures, and we also have art. And these 4 courses are what we call our exploratory wheel. Our students will have one of these every quarter, and they go every day to these classes. And then the other exploratory classes, physical education, music, and computers, those are not everyday classes. PE goes every other day all year long, and then music and computers are every other day but for semester only. So those round out our exploratory courses. Please make sure you pick up a handout that describes more about the classes and also how they are grading. Their grading scale is a little bit different than our core courses. It's more similar to what your children have had in the Park Hill School District in elementary. And a lot of that has to do with they are exploring these so that next year in 7th grade, they will be able to select which classes that they would like to participate in. Principles of learning and teaching. Our staff has developed our principles of learning and teaching, and we have handouts available year-round in our front lobby regarding principles of learning and principles of teaching. And this really is our guiding philosophy for working with your children. We believe all students can learn. We believe that they can learn at different rates and different times, and so sometimes we may have to slow down or we may need to accelerate, but we work individually with your students to make sure that they're successful. A time during our school day is called Tiger Time, and it's a 25-minute block in the mornings that we work across our building addressing the specific needs of our students. So that's what we call our intervention time. It may be for remediation, it could be for acceleration, but we work to meet the individual needs of our students, particularly in the areas of reading and math. Our primary focus at Plaza, of course, is learning for your students. And I'm going to go over a few bullet points in regards to the learning and growing that will take place for your students this year. Our students all have learning targets, and our teachers will have those posted in the classroom. We encourage our students to become familiar with those learning targets and the purpose of that particular class for class session. We have a robust curriculum. Often we hear from our students and families that it's different for science and social studies. They're experiencing more labs in science, and social studies is geared towards ancient civilizations, where in elementary school the primary focus had been American history. So those two areas are fairly different from the elementary experience. In regard to grading scale, we use the letter grades of A, B, C, D, and F. on a 90, 80, 70, 60, 50 grade scale. And there is a handout regarding our grading practices that is available to you, and it's also posted on our website. Our students' grades are calculated based on assessments, and the teachers will record other scores in the PowerSchool gradebook, but you will have an indicator that shows if it's included in the final grade or not. That way you can be keeping track of other things that they're doing, but knowing that their final quarterly grade is based on assessments. We also allow our students to reassess. However, it's not as easy as saying that a student takes the test and as soon as they turn it in, they say, I'm ready for a reassessment. There actually is a process in which the students will need to go through in order to show that they have had additional studying time, they've relearned some of the concepts that they might have been missing. So your teachers will describe that. And we also use test reflections, and those will typically go home to you so you can see how your students did on an assessment, and then kind of see from your students' perspective what maybe they could improve on or what they felt that they did really well on. And later in our presentation, we'll be talking about online grades through the use of PowerSchool. Our student handbook. Here is a picture of the student handbook that all of your children have received. Those are provided to you by the PTA, and we really appreciate that. The first one, of course, is provided by the PTA, but subsequent ones the students would have to pay for. And I'm often asked, what is the biggest difference between elementary school and secondary school? And I've did this with the kids, and I said, what do you think people say? And they're like, oh, it's passing time, or it's having lockers. And I say, no, switching classes, having multiple teachers. No. From a teacher's perspective, from an administrative perspective, the biggest difference between elementary school and middle school are the consequences for misbehavior. And it's so important that you spend time with your child and sit down and read the beginning pages of their planner, which is their student handbook. The handbook from the elementary schools is very different than the middle school handbook. And actually the consequences and a lot of the procedures and processes which we have at the secondary level go from 6th through 12th grade. And that, I think, most definitely is the biggest difference between elementary and middle, is understanding that the consequences are different. I talked with the students during our disciplinary talks when we're reviewing prior to their signing of the Code of Conducts, that nowhere in any of the consequences does it say loss of recess. And typically at the elementary school, that was a pretty severe consequence for many kids, is that they would not get to go to recess for several days. And I said, that's not one of our consequences. We don't have a recess. We really start at an after-school detention, which is an hour after school in one of our detention classrooms. And then they would need to be picked up by a parent following that after-school detention. And then it moves to an in-school suspension or an out-of-school suspension. And we talked through several of the issues that may occur and how that they should handle that. We specifically talked about if a child would bring something inappropriate to school, such as a pocket knife, cigarettes, or a lighter. We went through all of those elements, and that the expectation is that they know at all times what is on their person, what is in their backpack, what's in their pockets. It isn't an excuse to say I didn't know it was there. We expect them to be checking that on a regular basis. So please don't let them tell you, no, Mom and Dad, you can't look at my backpack. Continue to be actively involved and tell them you need to clean these things out. I need to see what's in there for their protection, as well as keeping them helping them keep you informed about what's going on at school. So please take time to read pages 1 through 23 with particular attention on pages 18 and 19 of the student handbook. Pause. If you have known any students who have come through Plaza, they will probably tell you that pause is one of their most favorite activities that occurs here. It stands for Plaza's Activities with Students. And it's a quarterly incentive that we get lots of parent volunteers for. So if you're interested, we already know the dates for our pause events. They happen towards the end of every quarter, and they are based on citizenship. Maybe your child doesn't have the best grades, but they work really hard, and they're a good person, and they follow the school rules. This is an activity that they will get to participate in. We want to make sure that our students who exemplify good citizenship and appropriate behavior at school are rewarded on a quarterly basis. So continue to encourage your children to follow the school expectations. Many of those expectations are the same as what you have for them at home. And then to celebrate that good work with their citizenship, then we reward them with this afternoon of just a great time. Many parents will say to me, it's so nice to see our children being kids. And we encourage you to come up and help volunteer. And again, those are on a quarterly basis. Now, for the rest of our evening, I have several other people who will come on to tell you a few more things, and I hope you find this section of your parent orientation to be very informative.
Good evening. My name is Kerry Heron. I'm one of the assistant principals here at Plaza Middle School, and welcome to Plaza Middle School. I'm glad that you guys came. I have the opportunity to talk to you a little bit about our anti-bullying program, our bus rules, and then I'm going to touch a little bit on our Citizenship Card behavior. So to kick it off, I'm going to talk a little bit about our anti-bullying program. Bullying is something that we take incredibly serious here at Plaza. We want to create a climate and a culture that is welcoming for all students, as well as an environment that students feel safe and cared about. And so that goes with our anti-bullying program. This Friday, we're actually going to talk about it at length with all of our students during our kickoff assemblies, which we have 4 different times for those assemblies running throughout the days. And one of the handouts at your team, outside your team rooms, will have those times available for you. We would love for you guys to come and join us during those presentations. If you can't make the time that works well for you with your students' team, you can come to any of those presentations. They're exact same, but really we're going to be outlining the purpose of having an anti-bullying program. We're going to be defining bullying for us. And then also really talking with the kids how to prevent, address, and how to report possible bully incidents. Bully incidents are something that we record through our database and keep track of it. And then we also talk a lot about this sign here that is down here, which is in every single room, about our no bully zone. We want kids to be proactive when addressing issues. It is a research-based program that we use here at Plaza Middle School, Oveus Bullying Program. But if there are incidents that do occur and we do start seeing a pattern or repeated behavior, students do start working up this pyramid of interventions that you see. And they do can run from anything from a loss of incentives to loss of privileges if we see a pattern in a certain area within the school, to a discipline referral, which is in line with our Board of Education policy outlined in the student handbook that each student has a copy of. And so hopefully we never have to talk about this pyramid, but every once in a while we do look at it with our students. The next thing I want to talk to you about is our or our bus rules. And we have 4 bus rules, and they're pretty self-explanatory, so I'm going to let you take a look at them, but I really want to touch on one for you, and that is our third one, where it is calling, texting, and picture videos not allowed by students on the bus. And a lot of times we hear kids, and we also hear parents say, well, I want my student to text me when they get close so that I know when to pick them up from the bus stop. We would really like our families to work that out ahead of time. And the reason being is not a negative thing. It is in line with our anti-bullying program. Our kids are very, very tech savvy, and they knew how to use cell phones to their advantage and also to their disadvantage. And 9 times out of 10, they use it in an appropriate manner. It's the 1 out of 10 times that gets us in a lot of trouble and actually gets students hurt a lot. And so students know how to text message individuals on their bus in a negative manner if they're kidding or joking about someone. And they also know if they take a picture or a video of someone, how to put that on Facebook instantly, how to put it on an internet site, and then before we know it, the entire student body is well aware of it, and it's hard for us to address and to stop. And so it is something that we take seriously. It is something that we have just made a blanket statement about. Calling, texting, and picture videos is not allowed on our buses. If you want to talk about that or have questions, please come find me. I'd love to discuss it about it with you, but they are allowed to use other devices, as you can see, to keep them acting in an appropriate manner on the bus. The last thing I want to talk to you about is our Citizenship Card, and I'm going to come over here and let you see it. The Citizenship Card, every student has in it, is actually a very important tool for you guys to have conversations with your students at home. It is really a tracking device for you to see what behaviors get in the way of academics. And so if they're being disrespectful to an adult or distracting the classroom, and it's not necessarily a violation of the student handbook, we do mark it on here, and it runs in line with our incentives, our pause, and some other incentives, where if there is a behavior that becomes habitual in nature and continues to take form, then we can address that. And it's also a conversation piece for you guys at the dinner table at night, as well as talking about on a weekly basis so that you guys can see where your kids are. We do want our kids as yellow cards, but you will get a phone call from teams if it's a white card or a no card. And then on the back of the citizenship card, we do track tardies. And tardies is in line with our student handbook. And the fifth tardy of any class actually results in an office referral. And so hopefully we won't ever get there, but this is another device for you guys to talk with your kids at home and at the dinner table about why they're being late to class. We want them in class on time, and we also want to teach them how to be on time to classes, so when they go to 7th and 8th grade and then to the high schools. We did give them a 2.5-week grace period, so students will start tracking tardies on September 4th, so we are still in the training process and trying to get them to class on time, and we appreciate that. But also another conversation piece for you guys to have with your kids. Any questions, please come find me or Dr. Ivy or Mr. Kalis, and I am glad that you guys came. Have a good night.
Hey, good evening, Plaza families and parents. Welcome to Parent Orientation Night. We're very, very glad you're here. My name is Mr. Kalis, and I'm one of the assistant principals here at Plaza Middle School. With over 800 students, 75 staff members, one of our biggest jobs is to keep your students safe. So we have different sets of procedures and expectations to help make this happen here at Plaza Middle School. I'm just going to highlight on a couple of different series of procedures for you. First and foremost, our arrival and departure procedures. As students enter and leave Plaza, our biggest thing is that students keep their hands and feet to themselves, that they don't loiter in the hallways, that they leave all their materials in their lockers. Hallway expectations. Students use a conversational tone of voice, walk on the right-hand side of the hallway so that they can get through, and do not block entrances to restrooms, areas around drinking fountains, and other key areas. Cafeteria. It's very, very important that your students line up quietly outside the cafeteria before entering, as we have many, many other classes in session focusing on academics. Then once inside the cafeteria, students are expected to go through the line, picking up all of the needed items before sitting down, then raising their hand if they forget an item or need seconds of something. Then once outside the cafeteria, it's our expectation that students line up outside the hallway in a quiet, single-file manner and return back to their classes. Thanks for coming out this evening. Have a great night.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Callow. I'm the school social worker here at Plaza, and I'm located in the counseling office. My main responsibility is to work with students and families in providing additional support and resources that might be needed, and I focus mostly on the non-academic needs. Please feel free to give me a call if I can answer any questions for you, and I look forward to talking with you. Thanks. Here's Mr. Calvin.
Good evening, Plaza parents. We're very glad you're able to join us tonight for the parent orientation. Just wanted to welcome you on behalf of the counseling office. My name is Matt Calvin. I am a counselor for students whose last names begins with the letter A through L. And I will step to the side here. I'll also let Miss Mathis introduce herself here in just a second. But wanted to speak a little bit about what we do in the counseling office. I know all of your students had counselors in the elementary schools, but just to give you a little bit of an idea of why students might come down and see us, I won't read that list for you, but the biggest issue that we see here in the middle school is just social issues. The way I describe it is teachers, their main job is to be teaching, and our job is to help teachers be able to do that and deal with any of the issues that might interfere in the classroom. So we'll work with your student, try and solve any issues and get them back into the class as soon as possible. One other thing that I wanted to mention, I also run a program called Youth Friends. Youth Friends is an opportunity for parents to volunteer. It allows them to come in and volunteer and work with students once a week. Most of the time that's in a tutoring situation or a mentoring situation or just having lunch with a student. If you are interested in that, please give me a contact. There is some training involved, but we will get you all the information you have and get you set up and give you an opportunity to work with some of our students. We look forward to working with you this year. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Leslie Mathis, and I'm another school guidance counselor here at Plaza. I work with students whose last names begin with the letter M through the letter Z. I wanted to just talk with you a little bit about student recognition, which we do organize through our office here at Plaza. All of you should have gotten a sheet that looks like this. It's white, and front and back it says student recognition. And pretty much all the information is on that sheet, but we do like students to set some goals for themselves, and we like to brag about our kids. So we like to recognize the achievement that they have here. So the worksheet explains it into more detail, but please set some goals with your child. Lastly, I also am not only a guidance counselor here, but I'm also a student council sponsor. And we have, if your child is interested in doing Stuco, we have already handed out the Stuco applications. If they did not pick one up, they need to go to the guidance office and pick one up. All applications are due on the 28th of August. We will not accept any late applications. Lists will be posted on people who are invited to participate in student council. Lists will be posted on September 7th, and then right after that is our first student council meeting, which is September 10th. So if you and your child, if you have talked about doing student council, please make sure they've picked up that application from my office. Okay, we look very forward to working with you this year. It was nice to meet you.
Hi, I'm Tammy Saylor. I'm the nurse here at Plaza Middle School. Just wanted to introduce myself and let you know if you have any health concerns or if there is any questions you may have regarding your student's health, you may feel free to contact me at any time. And I also wanted to go over a few of our policies, one being our medication policy. Park Hill currently does not we do not stock any medications in the health room for students. However, if you would like to bring in some over-the-counter medication or prescription medication for your student, you may do so at any time. If it is an over-the-counter medication, we just ask that it is in the original container, non-expired, and you will need to fill out a medication authorization form. If it is a prescription medication, we ask that you fill out a medication authorization form, and it will need to be in the prescription bottle with the pharmacy label. Plaza is also excited this year because we are going to have Healthy Kids come back to our school on November 8th, 9th, and November 12th. They will be providing free well screenings for any student who is signed up. Participation is not mandatory, but your permission is. Be looking for these pink letters to come home the first week in September, and all you need to do is fill it out and sign it for your student, and they will get an appointment and will be have a well child screening. Other things to remember with flu and cold season right around the corner, just a few reminders. If your student has a fever, and Park Hill defines a fever as 100 degrees or higher, please remember to keep your child home for 24 hours fever-free without the aid of medication.
Good evening. My name is Vicki Thurston, and I'm the technology specialist at Plaza Middle School. The Park Hill School District uses PowerSchool as our parent portal so you can get access to your child's grades and classes. To access PowerSchool, you'll go to the Park Hill website at www.parkhill.k12.mo.us. If you go to the Parent Resources and click to Online Grades, you'll see the link for the PowerSchool. Each parent will receive their own Parent PowerSchool login. This is different than your child's PowerSchool login. Each password is a 6-digit number. When you log into the PowerSchool, the first screen is your grades and attendance. This has all the basic information on your child's classes and grades. Any of the items in blue are links that you can click on either for teacher email, or if it's a grade, if you click on it, you will get the class list and detailed assignments for that grade. The next section is the grades history. If your child's been in the Park Hill School District, the grades history will show you their past grades and standard grades for any years that they attended Park Hill. The next section will be the attendance history. Attendance will be marked whether they were unexcused, whether it's a tardy, or whether it's a regular absence. You also have access to the parent email notifications. This section is important for the items that you wish to receive from PowerSchool. Please be sure to check the items that you wish, how often you wish to receive them, and you can put in multiple email addresses as long as you separate each email address with a comma. We also have teacher comments. If teachers put comments on a progress report or in regards to assignment, that's where you'll find this information in PowerSchool. Following that, we have a school bulletin section. These are just standard updates and information in regards to school activities and events. The log access is the summary of how often you log into PowerSchool and how often your student logs in. It'll show you the dates and times and how long you were logged in for. My schedule will show you your student's schedule. This is your student's daily schedule on purple and red days and what classes they have during what block periods. The final section is just basic school information. Our school address, our principal, Dr. Ivy, and her email, our fax number, and our assistant principal, Mr. Heron. If you have any PowerSchool questions, please feel free to contact the school or contact our district technology office at 359-5000.
I just want to say thank you for coming tonight. I hope you enjoyed our section of tonight's presentation. We will now be turning it over to your team teachers, but please know if you have any questions or concerns, please contact us in the office. We're happy to assist you in any way that we can and hope that you have found this information to be beneficial. Thank you, and now to your team teachers.